Madam Aduni was the richest woman in all of Lagos. Her house was so big that it took 10 minutes just to walk from the front gate to the main door. Everything in her home was expensive. The chairs were made of gold, the floors shined like mirrors. Even her toilet was covered in diamonds. But Madam Aduni had one big problem. Her heart was cold and mean. She treated everyone around her like trash, especially the people who worked for her. Folake was her maid. She was only 20 years old. Every morning, Folake woke up at 4 o'clock when the sky was still dark. She cooked all the meals. She cleaned every room. She washed all the clothes by hand. She worked so hard that her hands were always red and sore. Madam Aduni never said thank you. Instead, she yelled at Folake every single day. If the food was too hot, she screamed. If the food was too cold, she screamed louder. If even one tiny spot was on the floor, Madam Aduni would make Folake clean the entire house again. Folake never complained. She needed the money. Her mother was very sick back in the village. Her little brother and sister needed to go to school. So Folake stayed quiet and kept working, even when Madam Aduni was cruel to her. One terrible day, everything changed. Folake had been working for 16 hours straight. Her eyes could barely stay open. She was carrying Madam Aduni's favorite plate. It was a special plate from China that cost more money than Folake would make in 5 years. Her tired hand slipped. The plate fell. It smashed into a million pieces on the marble floor. Madam Aduni heard the crash. She came running into the kitchen. Her face turned red with anger. Her eyes looked like fire. "You stupid, useless girl," she screamed so loud that the neighbors could hear. "You broke my precious plate. You did this on purpose. You are a thief and a liar." "No, madam, please," Folake cried. Tears ran down her face. "It was an accident. I am so sorry. I will pay for it. Please give me time." But Madam Aduni did not want to listen. She grabbed Folake by the arm and dragged her to the front gate. She pushed her out onto the street. She threw Folake's small bag of clothes after her. "Get out of my sight!" Madam Aduni shouted. "You are nothing. You will always be nothing. Go back to your dirty village where you belong. I will make sure no one in Lagos ever gives you a job again." The gate slammed shut with a loud bang. Folake sat on the ground, crying. She had no money. She had nowhere to go, but she stood up slowly. She looked at the big house one last time. "The ancestors are watching," Folake said quietly. "They see everything. One day, the truth will come out." Then, she walked away into the busy streets of Lagos, carrying only her small bag and her broken heart. Inside her big house, Madam Aduni smiled. She felt powerful. She felt like she had won. She did not know that her whole life was about to change forever. What happens next will shock you. Keep reading to find out. 3 months went by. Folake found a new job at a small restaurant. She worked hard and sent money home to her mother. Life was difficult, but she never gave up. Meanwhile, Madam Aduni was living her best life. She went to fancy parties. She wore expensive dresses. She showed off her jewelry to all her rich friends. Everyone knew her name. Everyone wanted to be like her. Then one Saturday afternoon, Madam Aduni was at the biggest wedding of the year. All the important people in Lagos were there. She was wearing her most beautiful dress. She was laughing and dancing. Suddenly, she felt dizzy. The room started spinning. Her legs felt weak. She tried to call for help, but no words came out of her mouth. Then everything went black. She fell to the ground. People screamed. Someone called an ambulance. The sirens were so loud. They rushed her to the best hospital in Lagos. The doctors ran many tests. They checked her heart. They checked her blood. They looked at everything inside her body. Then the main doctor came to talk to her family. His face was very serious. "I have bad news," the doctor said slowly. "Madam Aduni's kidneys are dying. Both of them. She needs a new kidney right away, or she will die in a few weeks." Her children started crying. Her husband looked shocked. Everyone was scared. Can we give her one of our kidneys? Her daughter asked. We need to test everyone, the doctor explained. The kidney has to be a perfect match, or her body will reject it. We will start with family members first. They tested her 3 children, not one match. They tested her husband, not a match. They tested her brothers and sisters, not a match. They tested her cousins, her aunts, her uncles. Nobody matched. Madame Aduni's rare blood type made everything harder. Finding a match was like looking for one special grain of sand on a huge beach. The hospital put out a message on the radio and TV. Rich woman needs kidney donor. Big reward for anyone who matches. Hundreds of people came to the hospital. Some came because they wanted to help. Most came because they wanted the reward money. The doctors tested everyone. Church members came. Old friends came. Even strangers from across the city came. But nobody matched. Not a single person. Days turned into weeks. Madame Aduni got sicker and sicker. Her skin turned yellow. She could barely eat. She was so weak that she could not leave her hospital bed. The machines beeped all around her, keeping her alive. Her family was running out of hope. They prayed every day. They cried every night. They did not know what else to do. Then one morning, something incredible happened. A young woman walked into the hospital. She was wearing simple clothes. She looked thin and tired. She went straight to the front desk. I heard about the woman who needs a kidney, she said to the nurse. I want to be tested. The nurse looked at her. Many people have already been tested. What makes you think you might be a match? The young woman looked down at her feet. I just have a feeling. Please test me. So they did. They took her blood. They ran all the tests. Then they waited for the results. You won't believe who this young woman was. Keep watching to see what happens. 2 days later, the doctor rushed into Madame Aduni's hospital room. He was holding papers in his hand. His eyes were wide with excitement. We found a match, he shouted. A perfect match. This is a miracle. The whole family jumped up. They hugged each other. They thanked God. They cried happy tears. Who is it? Madame Aduni's husband asked. Who matched? The woman is waiting outside, the doctor said. She wants to talk to you first before we do the surgery. Bring her in, the husband said. We must thank her. We will give her anything she wants. The door opened slowly. A young woman walked in. She was wearing a simple blue dress. Her hair was pulled back. She looked familiar, but Madame Aduni's eyes were too weak to see clearly. The young woman came closer to the bed. She stood right where Madame Aduni could see her face. Madame Aduni's mouth dropped open. Her eyes went wide. She could not believe what she was seeing. It was Folake, the maid she had fired, the girl she had called worthless, the person she had thrown out onto the street like garbage. The room went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone stared at Folake. They stared at Madame Aduni. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Madame Aduni tried to speak, but her voice came out as a whisper. You? It's you? Folake nodded slowly. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed all the pain she had felt. Why? Madame Aduni asked. Tears started rolling down her face. After everything I did to you, after how mean I was, after I threw you out, why would you come back? Why would you save me? The family was confused. You two know each other? Her daughter asked. She was my maid, Madame Aduni said, her voice shaking. I treated her terribly. I fired her for breaking a plate. I said awful things to her. I promised she would never walk again. And now she's the only one who can save my life. Everyone looked at Folake. They waited to see what she would say. Would she walk away? Would she let Madame Aduni die? After all that cruelty, who could blame her? Folake took a deep breath. She looked straight into Madame Aduni's eyes. I came back because life is precious, Folake said. Her voice was strong and clear. I came back because my grandmother taught me that when someone is cruel to you, you do not become cruel back. You show them what kindness looks like. You show them what real strength is. She paused. Everyone in the room was hanging on her every word. But I did not come here to just give you my kidney for free. Folake continued. I have conditions. 3 conditions. If you agree to all 3, I will save your life. If you do not agree, I will walk out that door right now. What are her 3 conditions? Keep watching to find out. Madame Aduni's family leaned in closer. The doctor stood still. Everyone wanted to hear what Folake would ask for. First condition, Folake said, you will pay for my mother's medical treatment. All of it. She is sick in the village and cannot afford the medicine she needs. You will make sure she gets the best care. Madame Aduni nodded quickly. Yes, yes, I will pay for everything. Second condition, Folake continued. You will pay for my little brother and sister to go to school. Not just any school, a good school. You will pay for their uniforms, their books, their fees, everything until they finish university. I promise, Madame Aduni said. I will do it. What is the third condition? Folake's eyes became very serious. She stepped even closer to the bed. The third condition is the most important one, she said. You must change. Not just pretend to change, really change. You must learn that every single person on this earth has value. The maid, the driver, the gardener, the street sweeper, everyone, rich or poor, we all deserve respect. We all deserve kindness. She pointed to her own chest. You called me worthless. You said I was nothing. But look at us now. My kidney from a worthless girl is the only thing that can save your life. What does that tell you about worth? The room was so quiet. Even the machines seemed to beep softer. Madame Aduni's tears were flowing like a river now. She had never felt so ashamed in her entire life. You are right, she whispered. I was wrong. So wrong. I am sorry, Folake. I am so sorry. I do not deserve your help. I do not deserve your kidney. But I am begging you. Please, save me. I promise I will change. I promise I will be different. Folake looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will do it. Not because you deserve it, but because it is the right thing to do. The surgery was scheduled for the next day. That night, Madame Aduni could not sleep. She kept thinking about how she had treated Folake. She kept thinking about all the other people she had been mean to over the years. The next morning, they took both women to the operating room. The surgery took many hours. The doctors worked carefully. They took the healthy kidney from Folake's body. They put it into Madame Aduni's body. The whole family waited outside. They prayed. They paced back and forth. They held hands. Time moved so slowly. Finally, after 6 long hours, the doctor came out. He was smiling. The surgery was successful, he announced. Both patients are stable. The kidney is working perfectly. They will both be okay. The family cheered. They hugged each other. They cried tears of joy and relief. But the story does not end here. The best part is coming. 2 weeks later, both women had recovered enough to go home. Before Folake left the hospital, Madame Aduni's family gave her a big check. It was enough money to pay for her mother's treatment and her siblings' education, just as promised. But something even more important had changed. Madame Aduni was different now. Really different. She sold some of her expensive jewelry. She used the money to build a school in Folake's village. She hired teachers. She bought books and computers. She made sure every child could go to school for free. She stopped yelling at her workers. Instead, she asked them about their families. She paid them more money. She gave them holidays and breaks. She treated them like human beings, not like servants. Every month, Madam Aduni visited Folake's family in the village. She brought food and supplies. She played with Folake's little brother and sister. She helped take care of Folake's mother until she got completely better. 1 year after the surgery, Madam Aduni threw a big party. She invited everyone, rich people and poor people, employers and workers. Everyone was welcome. At the party, she stood up to make a speech. Folake was sitting right in the front row. 1 year ago, I was dying, Madam Aduni said to everyone. But I was not just dying in my body. I was dying in my heart and my soul. I had become a mean, cruel person. I thought money made me better than everyone else. I was so wrong. She looked at Folake. This young woman saved my life, but she did more than that. She taught me what real wealth is. Real wealth is not gold or diamonds. Real wealth is kindness. Real wealth is treating every person with respect. Real wealth is having a good heart. She touched her side where the new kidney was. Every single day, I feel Folake's kidney working inside me. It reminds me that I am alive because of someone I called worthless. It reminds me to be humble. It reminds me to be grateful. It reminds me to be kind. Everyone clapped. Many people were crying. Folake stood up and hugged Madam Aduni. It was a real hug. A hug of forgiveness. A hug of new beginnings. From that day on, the two women became like family. Madam Aduni helped Folake start her own business. Folake became successful, but she never forgot where she came from. She always remembered to be kind. And whenever someone in Lagos talked about being better than others, people would tell them the story of Madam Aduni and Folake. They would say, remember, the person you look down on today might be the person who saves your life tomorrow. Years later, Folake's little brother became a doctor. Her little sister became a teacher. Their mother lived a long, healthy life, and Madam Aduni spent the rest of her days spreading kindness wherever she went. The kidney that beat inside her chest was a constant reminder. We are all connected. We all need each other. And the greatest treasure in life is not what you have, but who you choose to be. This is why you should always treat everyone with respect and kindness. You never know when you might need them. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today.